Good morning, dear listeners. Today we come to the second part of my book, The Seven Laws of Reality and Being, which is a broad commentary of the Kybalion, but not only the Kybalion, but also the arcane teachings and other wisdom teachings. So the topic of the day is the mental imaging and the art of creative visualization, and this is described in my book in very fine details. But basically we can give a few indications in this podcast about what is the meaning of this creative visualization. Basically, the power of manifestation through mental imaging or creative visualization employs three essential aspects of the play of reality. So these three essential aspects are described in many spiritual wisdom teachings in different ways and modalities, but basically there is the first aspect of the potential, and this is basically the bare state of the mind of pure being, which is timeless and with infinite potentiality, but is not brought into any form, nor it is confined by any space or time limitations. And this is the potential, this is the source, this is what every sentient being is before becoming a sentient beings, and during the life as a sentient beings and after the death of a sentient being. So the potential remains as it is, without modification, without altering itself, perfect in itself, but at the time of being a sentient being, it lacks self-knowing. So the potential is the source which lacks self-knowing. It doesn't know itself, so it gets lost into the next two modalities of its expression. So the second modality is the ideal, and the third modality is the concrete. The third modality is very easy to understand because it's what appears in time and space. Now, it's concrete, but it can also be not concrete. Still, it is in time and space. The ideal is simply the potential itself, the aspect of the potentiality of the timeless mind of pure being. So the potential is pure being, we said, and that it's also we have many references in the books and in the other podcasts about the principle of mind. So and it is not brought into form or thought. It's not a thought or a concept. The ideal is the particularizing of the potential into a certain formulated archetypal form through mental imaging or creative visualization, and this is what we are talking about. We're talking about the ideal. It's the archetypal form through mental imaging, and this can be very close to the mind of pure being in the sense that it can be its own mental imaging. And then the third is the concrete, is the manifestation of the formulated mental image in visible, self-perceived form in time and space. So imagination, it's part of this ideal in a positive phase, and it's a very important faculty of the human mind. And whenever beings invent something, is due to this kind of faculty being sort of trained somehow, consciously or unconsciously, by certain type of human beings. And creative visualization is a conscious aspect of this imagination or ideal, archetypal ideal, and it's the creation of clear mental images of the things and conditions that should be manifested into forms which are self-perceptions. So the creative visualization has a sort of inherent tendency to materialize itself, to create its own causes and conditions. So through the cause and effect law, which already has been described and spoken of in my other podcasts and in my book, Through that, cause and effect, interdependence, and of time and space, and through the law of vibration and a correspondence, the mental framework basically becomes a circumstantial condition, and this is manifested into a self-perception in due time, obviously. And this should not be a surprise, because this is what generally happens in one's life. We don't recognize this process, but we think of things. We create mental images of things. We have intentions and motivations, and this create mental pictures, mental imagings in the brain, in the mind. The brain is the machinery of the mind, and then through that we experience different sort of events. So the creative power of any mental image is determined by how often, obviously, you visualize it and imagine it, and the strength of the feelings that is associated with the mental image. And also this works for when we strongly reject something. We create a mental image, and the mental image sometimes becomes an event, because the rejection creates mental images, and mental images have this sort of tendency to materialize. So when we use this faculty in a conscious way, we use the ideal, and we should be sharp, clear-cut, definite, because if you have an ideal today, another tomorrow, and a third next week, basically nothing is accomplished, nothing comes, and there is only a waste of mental and emotional energy. So the process of creative visualization is described in very fine details in the book, and there is a whole chapter on it, and we can conclude with the last mention about the difference between creative visualization and passive daydreaming. Daydreaming is a passive state of mind where images pass through the mind. There is some sort of desire about it, and there is no conscious effort, or there is no conscious ideal. Creative imagination, visualization, it's the positive phase of the creating faculty, whereas daydreaming is the passive aspect of this. I mean, they're both related. They're all related to the archetypal idea of the mind, but in one there is just a passive waiting, which doesn't really have any energy behind it. On the other hand, the creative visualization has an input and a conscious intention and energy behind it. So the focus of creative imagination is very sharp, like a magnifying glass. And on the other hand, daydreaming is just a dissipation of energy, and there are no results in that. So that's all for today, and thank you for listening. And I will speak in the next podcast about another topic of the 7 laws of reality and being.